Hi everyone, this is Sherry and welcome to my channel Practical Stitches. Today I am taking part in a vlog hop. It is hosted by Stephanie Rublitz and co-hosted by Alex from Gingerhead & Co. and it's called So Ask Me Anything, a scrap busting episode. So, first question. What are your insider tips for scrap busting? Well, from my experience, number one, sort your scraps that you know you're going to use and only keep them if you know you're going to use them. So I keep cotton, jersey, fleece, and satin and lining, well, and denim. Good. Okay, so I don't put them all into one container or one bag all together. I keep them separate. So if I want to do work on a cotton that I need cotton scraps for, I know right where to get them. And I don't have to search and dig and everything's all wrinkled and in a big pile. So tip number two, decide on the size of scrap that you're going to keep. So you got to draw a line somewhere. You can keep everything if you want, but then you're going to get buried in them. And it doesn't take long to build up. So if it's up bigger than my hand, I don't keep it. Unless I'm working on a project that I know I need a certain size for, and generally as you do things like this, you will know what you need to keep for whatever reason. So for example, I have a project that I want to try, and in this box is cotton scraps. So when I'm cutting something out, I cut them all the same size. So I have all different colors in here. There's black, purple, anything that I have cut out, like a shirt or whatever. I have different scraps in there. And that way, you know exactly where they are. So next, so I guess that's tip number three. If you know you're working on a project and you're saving scraps, tip number three, I'm showing you two fingers. Tip number three is to cut them into the size that you know that you want them to be. So fleece is the project that I'm going to work on today and show you something useful to make it a fleece. So at one time I was organized, and as I made a jacket or whatever I made, a scarf, a hat, the pieces that weren't usable for anything else, I cut them into squares. And I have different size squares in here because I've made this a couple times and it is a useful thing. So, but I became unorganized and I let this happen. Yeah, so I saved all these off of things I've made. Obviously took a while to make this mess, and I'm going to make something useful out of this, get this out of my sewing room and turn it into something useful. So what is your weird and wonderful scrap busting project? I'm going to make a blanket out of fleece scraps. This project that I'm making, and if you want to make it, I am using a 5-inch square that I cut out of a piece of sturdy cardboard, and I am cutting 5-inch squares out of my fleece scraps, as you can see right here. So here is another one. So all you need for this project is thread, obviously a ruler, and scissors or a rotary cutter, a mat if you're going to do that. You can trace these, like trace around your squares and get your children to cut them out if you want to do it as a family project or something like that. So I have enough squares here to show you how to sew these together. Now, the way I figured it out, that traditionally, I guess, picnic blankets are 60 inches square. I didn't know they were that big. I don't think mine needs to be that big. So these are 5-inch squares. I figured out that if I make it 12 by 12, it should be big enough for a 2-person picnic blanket. It is something I'm going to put on the ground, and I think that this is a good use of this. It's going to be a blanket that I just put in my vehicle. You have all your squares cut. We're going to sew them together. So we're going to need a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine. You can use a fancier decorative stitch, but it's going to take longer to sew all your squares together. So I just use a zigzag stitch. I've made this project before and they stay together, and after repeated washes and wear and tear, it works fine. So I'm just doing a regular zigzag stitch. It doesn't have to be super tight together. My machine's set at a 2.5 length and then a 5 stitch. Yeah. 2.5 and a 5. Anyway. Okay. So you're just going to overlap your pieces 1/4 inch. I don't know if that's showing up on camera or not. So you're just going to overlap them. I don't even backstitch. I just sew them together. And I chain stitch them. So the one on the top, I always put it on the top. The one on my left, I put on the top of the other, right sides up, and I just chain piece them together. And I will do one more so you can see. And you will get the general idea. Very simple. This one go on the top, about 1/4 inch. Whoops. So I will show you my lint. Lint. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you just want to check and make sure everything's caught. I cannot poke my finger through there. And that's the right side. If your fleece doesn't have a right or wrong side, it's not going to matter. But that's what you want it to look like. So you just join in the 2 pieces of fabric together, and then you have a flat seam and there's no ridges. So then you continue to sew them together. I'm sewing these in 12 squares long. Alright, to sew your strips together, you do the same thing as earlier as you did the squares. And after, well, I have all of my 12 strips sewn together, and now I just have, have these strips sewn together, so now I have to sew these together. That makes sense. And I'm going to do it exactly the same way as before, only now I have to line up my two seams, and I still am going to just overlap them. So now that all the strips are sewn together, we need to well, you can bind it or you can just hem it. So this is what, oh, please. So I'm gonna fold this down. I need a measuring tape or a ruler or something. So I think I'm just gonna turn it down an inch. So I'm just gonna fold the corner in. And I want that to meet down there. So is that about an inch? A little bit too much. And I'm gonna pin it here and there just so I keep it straight, because fleece stretches quite a bit. And I'm just going to use a straight stitch so it'll secure these ends and it doesn't come undone. So I'm just going to sew around here. Here's the finished product. Blanket all finished. You can use it for a picnic blanket, a pet blanket, a throw. This measures 55 inches square, and this one that I told you about making, and my cat's laying there upside down. Can't see her. Oh, she makes me laugh. Okay. Enjoy the rest of the vlog hop. I hope you get lots of scrap busting, or lots of great scrap busting ideas. Talk to you soon. Bye.